molecules are not separately forming the bond. There is a single molecule in which two different electropositive and electronegative atoms will be together forming the bond. So what happens here is, you can see here, this is orthochlorophenol structure. This is the OH of the phenol group. This is a chlorine, okay, and you are already aware that here the OH among this thing, H carries the positive charge. That is why we have written there plus delta, okay. Then if you see here very clearly, then chlorine is going to carry the negative charge, and that's why it is going to have the minus delta sign, okay. So what happens now, the electropositive atom, that is hydrogen, is going to form the hydrogen bond with the electronegative atom, that is your chlorine, okay. So this kind of bonding is known as basically your intramolecular H bonding. Inter means between the molecules and intra means within the molecule. So there is no case of the confusion when you discuss the two cases. And always remember that hydrogen bond is possible whenever there are electropositive atom and electronegative atom into particular molecule, okay. Without that, there is not possibility of the hydrogen bonding. Now we can see the next thing, that is the significance, why this H bond plays an important role. What is the significance of this hydrogen bond into the routine or into the life, okay. So very important is the first point, that is water exists on the earth because of this hydrogen bond. Means what, that there is the water is basically not getting quickly evaporated from the earth surface, because water has a capacity to form the hydrogen bonding with the soil particles, and that is why water is existing on the earth, and that is why you can say water is accumulated into soil, that is your groundwater and many more, rainwater and other things, right. The second point, the second important thing is that our cells are basically having a high percentage of water. You know that without water we can't survive. So what happens, that water is accumulated in the cells of the living organisms like plants, animals and human beings, basically because of your hydrogen bonding, okay. The third point, that is the hydrogen bond plays very important role in the biochemistry. So what happens there, you know that nucleic acid is there, okay. So nucleic acid is having the component, your protein structure, all the things are basically surviving because of your hydrogen bond, and that is why it plays important role in the biochemistry. The fourth thing, that is the strength of the bond, or you can say the strength of cement or concrete, is basically due to your hydrogen bond, okay. So what happens, that there is a cement, concrete which is getting hardened, then all this strength basically depends on the formation of the H bond. And the fifth point is the protein structure. Our muscles, our protein structure exists because of your hydrogen bonding into the structure, okay. There is a flexibility into the muscles because of the hydrogen bonding. There are many examples where we can see what exactly this hydrogen bond, these are just the highlights. You can see many more examples available which are very important, so which proves the existence of the H bond is essential in the life of living organisms. Now we'll take up the next thing, that is, now see, there is a molecular arrangement, right. There is another topic, that is we have discussed the things, that is metallic bond, then we have seen the hydrogen bonding, and we have seen the types of the hydrogen bond, and now we can see the molecular arrangement in solid, liquid and gases. It is very simple concept, you all are aware and you all are studying that you know that solids are having a very uniform arrangement of molecules, and due to this uniform arrangement the solids have a definite crystal lattice, okay. So you can draw here if you wish, if you have a solid, then what happens, molecules are very much compact, they are packed very closely to each other, and hence what happens, this gives the strength to the solids due to the uniformity into the molecular arrangement. They give rise to the definite crystal shapes in case of the solid structures. Okay, now when you go for the liquids, what happens to the liquids? We can see here, in liquids the case is slightly flexible. Your molecules are little bit far away from each other. You can see here that molecules are little bit far from each other. So compared to solid, the arrangement is slightly random. While when you discuss for the gases, what happens? There is a random arrangement. Molecules are very much far from each other, and due to this reason, the gaseous molecules are having very high kinetic energy, so they cannot stay together, and due to this they don't have a definite shapes. Okay, so these are the things that one has to remember, that molecular arrangement into solid, liquid and gases defines the particular shapes. Now we can move to the another thing, that is molecular solids. Now we have to discuss the two cases in case of the molecular solids, that is the structure of the P4 atom. In case of P4 molecule, what happens, that the 4 phosphorus atoms are joined togetherly by forming the covalent bond, and this P4 molecule is highly inflammable at normal temperature. So one has to remember this thing while discussing the P4 molecule case. There are different types of phosphorus available. You have white phosphorus, red phosphorus, and depending on that the properties will vary. Okay, and we can see the inflammability properties are different according to the structural arrangements. The B is now among the molecular solids. There is a second category, that is basically the structure of the sulfur. The structure of sulfur is basically your S8 molecule. Now what happens? How this S8 molecule is formed? You have a one molecule of the sulfur basically contains 8 atoms of the sulfur. Okay, so S8 molecule is as such very clearly specified that there are 8 atoms of the sulfur. But in case here, there is one important point to be noted, is van der Waals forces are very strong for the sulfur atom, and here you can also understand, as the van der Waals forces are very strong, so melting point of the S8 molecule is higher than P4 molecule. Now we can take another thing, that is your network solids. Now what is this network solid? There are your atoms are basically forming a network kind of things, and due to this the specific geometry of that particular compound arises. That's why these are known as your network solids. Now let us try to say, in network solid there is A, that is your diamond. Okay, now we'll take up the example of the diamond. What happens in the diamond is, every carbon atom is bonded in tetrahedral fashion. Okay, it means what? Your tetrahedral arrangement is found in the diamond because carbon atom is linked in the tetrahedral fashion. Now due to this, what happens when you try to apply the force to the diamond, then due to this strong tetrahedral arrangement, your carbon atoms cannot move easily from its position, and hence diamond can resist the stroke easily, and due to this diamond possesses very high hardness, and melting point of the diamond is also very high. Okay, so remember that diamond is very hard. There is a science behind why it is very hard substance. The chemistry behind it is basically the diamond is having the tetrahedral structure, and due to this reason what happens when you try to apply force, it is basically divided in that tetrahedral structure, and hence what happens is that it will resist the stroke very easily because of its strong tetrahedral arrangements, and hence the melting point of the diamond is very high. Okay, you can see here there is another network solid, that is your graphite. Now what happens to the case of the graphite? Slightly different. Both are the allotropes of carbon. Remember, what is allotrope? Means made up of carbon, but the arrangement of carbon atoms are different in both the structures. Diamond is having different arrangement of carbon, graphite is having different arrangement of carbon, and due to this reason there is a property that is different from them. Okay, so in network solids you can see very clearly that your graphite example, very important one, each carbon atoms join to form hexagonal network. Okay, there is a hexagonal network that is formed. Basically, if you want, you can see here like this, hexagons are there. So these hexagonal arrangements is there. Okay, and due to this reason your hexagonal arrangement or network is basically giving the softness property to the graphite. Now what happens when you try to apply force, okay, on this graphite, then what happens? This plane will slide over another plane, and due to this what happens? Your graphite structure can break very easily, and hence the graphite possessed great softness, and hence it can be used in pencil leads as well as a lubricant. What is lubricant? Lubricant is a substance which is used to reduce the friction. So we can see very clearly that diamond and graphite are the allotropes of carbon, yet having a very different properties, and that is we can put it into the another just glance of the diamond. That is, diamond, every carbon atom is bonded in tetrahedral fashion. Carbon atoms cannot move from its position. Okay, you can see here that it cannot move from its position because why? Tetrahedral fashion is there. And what happens? Due to tetrahedral fashion, it can resist the stroke or jerks very easily. And another property that it has, that is a very high hardness, and hence it possesses the high melting point. The next thing, that is, as usual I had discussed regarding the graphite, you can see hexagonal network is formed. When you apply a force, then what happens? The one hexagonal plane will slide over the another, and due to that it will give rise to the soft property in the graphite, and hence your graphite can be used as a lubricant and in the pencil too. Okay, now we can see what are the types of the crystal lattices that are basically we have taken up into the here a glance, that is the FCC, BCC and HCP. So what we can do here, FCC, BCC, HCP, the different structures are there. Okay, so we can relate it like that, like I will draw the structure, give the example, and how what is the technique to draw the structure, that we'll see. In case of FCC, it is basically a face centered cubic crystal. Now how to draw? See, look here, there is, first we will be drawing the cube. So after drawing the cube, you can just connect it like this. It's not necessary to connect all the atoms, but we can have a little idea. Now you can see in each face of the cube we will put one atom. Okay, and in the just center of all the this cube we can put the atoms. If you look here, you can first put all the center, all the things, the corners are first filled first. Then in the center of the each face we will be putting one atom. So we can put here. Then if you visualize this face, we can put here. If you visualize this face, we can put here. We can put here. If this is one face, this we can put here. Okay, this is another face, then we can put it here. So what happens basically is that you can see that in the center of the each face of the cube there is atom, as well as there are atoms at all the corners of the cube. For the FCC structure, you can see here very clearly that your aluminium, gold and copper are possessing your face centered cubic crystal lattice system. Okay, so it is very clear, your aluminium will be denoted by Al, your copper will be denoted by Cu, gold will be denoted by Au into the periodic table. Okay, so this is the structure related to your FCC. Another is your BCC. Now what is this BCC? That is your body centered cubic crystal. So you can see here there is very simple thing. The one thing that you all have to do is put the atoms at the corners of the cube, and then only one atom in the center, that is in the center of the entire cube. Let us draw it. Just see here, there is a cube. Okay, then you have to remember corners you can put the atoms. That remains fundamental in every structure. Okay, this is like this, and the name itself is body centered cubic crystal. So what you can do is here, there is one atom in the center of the cube. Okay, so this is your BCC structure. If you want, you can connect the lines and make it as a structure bit complex, but just concept should be very clear in case of FCC and BCC. Don't get confused. Here you can look here that FCC is face centered cubic crystal. Then you can see that aluminium, copper, gold are the examples. Then you can see here that the structure itself, first you can put the atoms at the corners of the cube. Everywhere I have kept it, right? So that things has to be kept in mind. After that you can put the atom in the center of the each face. Okay, and then this makes the structure of the FCC complete. Now after that we have seen that BCC, very simple one. Put the atoms in the corner of the cube, then you can simply put one atom in the center itself. Your example of the BCC is iron. Okay, then you have tungsten, and then you have your chromium. So these are the example of your body centered cubic crystal.